James Joyce's Ulysses, published in 1922, is one of the most celebrated and challenging works of modernist literature. Set entirely on a single day, June 16, 1904, in Dublin, Ireland, it reimagines Homer's Odyssey in a contemporary context, transforming epic heroism into the rhythms and minutiae of ordinary life. The novel is renowned for its experimental style, shifting narrative techniques, and deep psychological insight. It follows the lives of its central characters over the course of about 18 hours, exploring themes of identity, love, betrayal, mortality, and the search for meaning in a fragmented world. Its reputation as both a masterpiece and a formidable reading challenge has made it a central text in literary studies and a milestone in the development of modern fiction. The novel is divided into 18 episodes, each employing a distinct style, structure, or literary device. Although the story unfolds chronologically over a single day, its narrative is shaped by stream-of-consciousness passages, interior monologue, parodies, and symbolic parallels to the Odyssey. The opening 3 episodes are sometimes called the Telemachus, echoing the early chapters of Homer's epic, which focus on Telemachus, the son of Odysseus. Here, the focus is on Stephen Dedalus, a young intellectual and teacher who had previously appeared in Joyce's earlier novel, A Portrait of the Artist, as a young man. The first episode, Telemachus, begins in the Martello Tower at Sandy Cove, where Stephen lives with his friend Buck Mulligan and an Englishman named Haynes. Tensions emerge between Stephen and Buck over personal slights and over Stephen's lingering grief for his recently deceased mother. Stephen feels alienated and uncomfortable, deciding he will not return to the tower that night. The second episode, Nestor, finds Stephen teaching at a boys' school in Dalkey. After the class, he meets with the school headmaster, Mr. Deasy, who pays him and delivers a long-winded lecture on history and morality. Deasy also gives Stephen a letter to take to a newspaper editor, initiating a small errand that will later connect with other parts of the day. In the third episode, Proteus, Stephen walks along Sandymount Strand, lost in a flood of philosophical and sensory impressions. This interior monologue captures the complexity of thought, with shifting images and associations reflecting his restless mind. The narrative then shifts to the second major character, Leopold Bloom, whose wandering over the course of the day parallels Odysseus's journey. Bloom is a middle-aged advertising canvasser, husband to Molly Bloom, and a man of mixed Jewish and Irish heritage. The fourth episode, Calypso, introduces Bloom at breakfast, preparing a meal for Molly before going out to buy a kidney from a butcher. His thoughts reveal his affection for Molly. His awareness of her impending afternoon meeting with her lover Blazes Boylan, and his curiosity about the world around him. In Lotus Eaters, Bloom runs errands, including posting a letter to a woman with whom he maintains a flirtatious correspondence. He attends to minor tasks but also drifts into daydreams and observations, displaying his gentle, inquisitive nature. Hades finds Bloom joining a group of acquaintances on a carriage ride to the funeral of Paddy Dignam. The cemetery scene prompts reflections on mortality, loss, and the rituals of death. Bloom is somewhat distanced from the other men, sensing their subtle prejudice toward him. In Aeolus, Bloom visits the offices of the Freeman's Journal newspaper to place an advertisement, encountering various figures engaged in political talk. Joyce structures this episode with headlines, giving it the feel of a newspaper page. The next episode, Les Dragonians, follows Bloom through Dublin at lunchtime, observing the city and its inhabitants while feeling the pangs of hunger. He finally settles in the Burton restaurant, but is put off by the coarse eating habits of others, choosing instead to dine more comfortably elsewhere. In Scylla and Charybdis, the perspective returns to Stephen, now at the National Library, where he engages in an elaborate discussion on Shakespeare's works, particularly Hamlet. His theory about Shakespeare's life provokes spirited debate among the literary men present. Bloom briefly appears, unnoticed by Stephen. Wandering Rocks presents a mosaic of short vignettes depicting various Dubliners as they move about the city, with both Stephen and Bloom appearing briefly. This interlude reinforces the sense of Dublin as a living, interconnected organism. In Sirens, Bloom is in the Ormond Hotel bar, where the narrative mimics the musicality of song and performance. He listens to music, observes Boiling passing by on his way to meet Molly, and contemplates love, desire, and fidelity. Cyclops features a satirical and exaggerated narrative about Bloom in a pub, where he endures anti-Semitic taunts from the citizen, a nationalist bigot. The style alternates between colloquial storytelling and mock heroic parody, underlining the absurdity of prejudice and bluster. In Nausicaa, Bloom sits on Sandymount Strand, where he observes Gertie McDowell, a young woman nearby. This episode blends romanticized narration with Bloom's more earthy and physical responses, highlighting the tension between idealized beauty and sexual reality. Oxen of the Sun takes place in a maternity hospital where Mina Purefoy is in labor. Bloom arrives, encountering Stephen and his friends. The style of the episode evolves through the history of English prose, from Anglo-Saxon to contemporary slang, mirroring the theme of gestation and birth. In Circe, the novel's longest episode, Bloom follows Stephen into Dublin's red light district. Written as a surreal play script, the scene becomes a hallucinatory sequence of fantasies, fears, and confrontations. Bloom rescues Stephen from a scuffle with soldiers and takes him for coffee. Eumaeus finds Bloom and Stephen resting in a cabman's shelter, conversing wearily with the owner and other patrons. Their exchanges are marked by fatigue, misunderstanding, and the slow winding down of the day. In Ithaca, Bloom and Stephen walk to Bloom's home. The narrative adopts a catechism-like question-and-answer format, offering meticulous detail about their actions and surroundings. Stephen declines Bloom's offer to stay the night, and the two part with a sense of tentative connection. The final episode, Penelope, is Molly Bloom's celebrated monologue as she lies awake in bed beside her sleeping husband. In an unpunctuated stream of consciousness, she reflects on her youth, her affairs, her marriage to Bloom, her desires, and her memories. The section ends with her famous affirmation of love and life. "Yes, I said, yes, I will. Yes," bringing the day and the novel to a close. Ulysses is a landmark in literary modernism, partly because of its bold experimentation with form and language. Joyce constructs the novel not as a single unified style, but as a sequence of stylistic experiments, each episode shifting tone, perspective, and method to reflect its themes and the consciousness of its characters. The Homeric parallels are one of its most famous features. Stephen's intellectual quest for purpose mirrors Telemachus's search for his father, while Bloom's wandering through Dublin echoes Odysseus's long journey home. Molly Bloom's centrality at the end recalls Penelope, though Joyce's Penelope is far more candid, sensual, and self-aware than her classical counterpart. These parallels are not literal retellings, but rather symbolic correspondences, enriching the text without constraining it. The stream of consciousness technique is perhaps the novel's most influential innovation. In passages such as Stephen's walk on Sandymount Strand or Molly's monologue, Joyce captures the rhythms and associations of thought, allowing the reader to inhabit the interior life of his characters with unprecedented intimacy. This creates a narrative that is less about external events and more about how those events are perceived, processed, and remembered. Dublin itself functions as a character in the novel. Joyce meticulously recreated the city as it existed on June 16, 1904, down to street layouts, shop signs, and weather patterns. This exactness gives Ulysses both a documentary realism and a mythic resonance, transforming a single day in an ordinary city into an epic canvas. The novel's treatment of identity is multifaceted. Bloom's position as both insider and outsider, Irish yet Jewish, familiar yet suspect, allows Joyce to explore themes of belonging, prejudice, and human connection. Stephen's struggle is more existential, wrestling with artistic ambition, personal guilt, and the search for intellectual freedom. Molly's closing monologue offers a counterpoint to both men, presenting a female perspective that is earthy, unapologetic, and deeply rooted in physical experience. While often challenging, Ulysses rewards readers with moments of humor, tenderness, and profound insight. Its stylistic variety means it can be lyrical, absurd, bawdy, or meditative, sometimes all within the same chapter. It is a novel about life's ordinariness and its grandeur, about the way a single day can contain the full range of human experience. James Joyce's Ulysses stands as one of the defining achievements of 20th century literature. By transforming the ordinary routines of a Dublin day into a vast, intricate tapestry, Joyce demonstrated that epic narratives need not be about kings or warriors. They can be about ordinary people going about their lives, thinking, feeling, yearning, and imagining. Its reputation for difficulty is well-earned, yet its richness makes it endlessly rewarding for those willing to immerse themselves in its pages. Whether approached as a modern reimagining of Homer, as an experiment in narrative form, or simply as a portrait of human consciousness, Ulysses remains unmatched in scope and ambition. If this summary has sparked your interest in Joyce's masterpiece or deepened your understanding of it, there's always more to discover within its 18 episodes. For more literary explorations and in-depth summaries, consider subscribing to the channel so you never miss future insights into the world's greatest books.